Every nigga everywhere I go, man. Juicy J, shut the fuck up!
Yeah, spin that shit.
Memphis nigga everywhere I Memphis nigga everywhere I go.
Every nigga everywhere I go.
Memphis nigga everywhere I go.
Every nigga everywhere I go.
Eyes all red like city gear. Nigga. Draw down on him, make a fuck nigga, give it here. Jeff #1, I'm the rookie of the year. Wanna see a mad trick, make a nigga disappear. Real Memphis nigga when I'm looking in the mirror. Yo,
Memphis nigga everywhere I go, this the remix.
Ay.
Memphis nigga going up like the G-Mix.
Ay. Everybody outside, it's the freak nigga. Memphis nigga everywhere I go. Fuck nigga, Memphis nigga everywhere I go. Let's get it.
Memphis nigga everywhere I go.
Let's get it. Memphis nigga everywhere I go. Let's get it.
Memphis nigga everywhere I big head that hoe. Memphis shit, that's how I feel. Shit might check me a hoe, might flame me a hoe. Spit a little game on a hoe, never spent change on a hoe. Memphis nigga everywhere I go.
He ain't even been to the city before. Fuck nigga, he ain't even been to the city. He ain't even been to the city before. Let's get it. Nigga came once, but he can't come back no more. These Memphis nigga when I drop my low. Yo, nigga want smoke, let's go. Yo, bitch want smoke, fuck nigga, I call Big Glow. Yo,
Memphis bitch everywhere I go. Okay. Memphis bitch everywhere. Let's get Memphis bitch everywhere I go. Okay. Memphis bitch everywhere on the count. Memphis bitch everywhere I go. Might take a bitch nigga, might take a nigga home. Riding down Fraser be coolin' with some hot boys still doing donuts in the smoke. Getting money ass bitch, that's me. That's me. Tomato fruit M's and I still want more. Now if Memphis bitch got hard. Win, lose, or draw, bitch, I still want smoke. I ain't shit but 25. Let's go. Already a legend up in my city. Bump down, bump 3-6. Hey, man, play me some of that pimpin'. Gangsta ass bitch, stay muggin'. Everywhere I go, I'm thuggin'. Memphis bitch, everywhere I go. Let's go. And everywhere I go, they love me.
Yeah, Memphis nigga everywhere I step through. 3-6 Mafia and Gangsta Boo. You know what it is, my nigga. My city full of gorillas that ain't from the zoo. North Memphis nigga so infamous. Rest in peace, Lord Infamous. Old school nigga with the pole in the cut. I hear making easy money tryna pimp a slut. Fraser Boulevard in a car all candy. South Memphis bitch, she ain't wearing no panties. She ain't never been nowhere outside our city. I'm a draper in Dior and I'ma take it to the Grammys. Memphis nigga everywhere I step on the scene. Ride through Evergreen, blowing get it green. Give a little bad bitch a hug. With all this water on me, she gon' have a wet dream. You don't know nothing about Hyde Park. You don't really wanna stop by after dark. Even Nick K's know the city I'm reppin'. Have a nigga scat pack go to 60 seconds. 20 years plus I done been in this thing. And a nigga like me ain't never gon' change. Rollin' up dope while I'm sitting so close. I can walk on the floor at the Grizzly game.
I want EP and chicken and dogs. You wanna receive under the heart. I'm with Lil P and I'm motherfucking pot. I be like cheeky, we say squat. Nigga there.
Ayy, Memphis nigga everywhere I go. Get 100 bread a piece when I'm in the stove. Parkway Village, I'm a native. Still had a duck posted up in the Dover. Young nigga wanna be like Craig Pettis, bro wanna be G-Train. Afghanistan top tier, tail biting, send us to Ukraine. Drake made sure we try global. Let me tell you about Poplar. We'll stop and deals go for a couple bucks, she'll take it so. East Memphis, that's in that league. North Memphis, that's got it. South Memphis, long live flipper. West Memphis, that ain't Memphis. On EP, eating chicken at Dodge before a nigga went vegan. Might get his 6P from Crumpets. All done left, it's the best jack. Is she from Memphis with a bun on? She give more head than a lace front. Me go my partner from back in the day, but I heard he hit him a lace blunt. Tell white folks he my nigga. Hey Max Snoop, I got a beer for you. From a city where you win it, they don't even really wanna even cheer for you. Deep down they be hating on you, but too quick to say I love you. In Memphis it's a red flag if she ain't blood and she say brother. Everybody gotta switch in this bitch. Game be beefing with clicks. Tell DJ yo where the dream ball at. I'm tryna stomp some shit. 2016 at the Delta Fair in the corn maze, you could die there. Long live J Money Truler, when he died, whole city had tears. Memphis nigga everywhere I go. I don't care if it was Idaho. Before Ja, it was Mike Cullen. Before Jaren, it was Zebo. In the lead, don't get his credit, but I'm really hometown hero. Might use a key to the city just to lock my back door. Memphis nigga everywhere I go. Memphis nigga everywhere I go.
Memphis nigga everywhere I go.
Memphis nigga everywhere I go. Memphis nigga everywhere I go. Memphis nigga everywhere I go. Memphis nigga everywhere. Memphis nigga everywhere I go.
Memphis nigga everywhere. Menig. That's crazy because the acronym for the song is MNEIG, and it kind of look like it say Memphis nigga everywhere I go. When you just look at it, it's funny. But good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. We are on day 8. They finished their closing arguments and went to the jury. We know the jury did not come back with the verdict yesterday because they went home. They are currently they're not live yet, but the news station is there waiting for a verdict to come in. I don't know what time the jury came in and started deliberating, or why the news is even there this early, but when we get done with their closing statements, when they send it to the jury, I'll go check in on the real time trial and see what we get. I don't think they're gonna. I think it's gonna take them a couple days to come back with they not guilty of murder, but guilty on some other shit things. I just feel like it's gonna take a couple days. But without further ado, what the fuck? Okay. Wait a damn minute. Why don't I hear the? Hold on, y'all. I don't know why I can't hear the fucking. I hear it, but it sounds like it's coming from somewhere else. Ew. I thought I cut that off. No wonder.
Get right back into things with the opening March tour. It's a record replay.
Thank you. Morning, ladies and gentlemen. I guess if you think about how hot we were at one point and how cold we are now, you average it out over time, you've been pretty comfortable. I promise I will not use logic like that in these closing remarks. We started off by telling you that this was a case about
Now they go with them fucked up mics again.
nothing that has happened in the courtroom since we said that has changed.
So like somebody playing with paper.
And choices are something that we're very familiar with. Choices are something that we make every day. Choices we make every hour. We make every minute. We're making choices. Even if we decide not to make a choice, we make a choice. And in this case, Demetrius Haley made a choice for a career with the Memphis Police Department. He applied. He was accepted in the program. He went to the academy. He graduated, and then he hit the streets. As he was in the academy, he was being taught by the police department professionalism. So that's what sets a police officer apart from the rest of the public, is they have a job to do, but they have to do it professionally. There's no room for mistakes in policing. And that's why I have up on the screen right now the response to resistance continuum. This is the framework that he was taught in the police academy. It's the framework that follows him on into the field. And what it does, it serves to protect. It serves to protect the officer who is making decisions, making choices along the way in his day. And it also protects the public because it gives the
Okay, this is the only thing I would disagree with about showing this use of force continuum and all of that, saying they were performing their duties. They were fired. If the police did a review and determined that they followed proper police protocol, they wouldn't have been fired. Police typically stand behind their own, especially when they can prove that they followed protocol. So the fact that they were fired shows that, yeah, they fucked up. Now, I know a lot of people may say, well, this was an officer involved killing. It brought a lot of attention. Yeah, it was. It wasn't as much as had it been 5 white officers on a black guy or 5 black officers on a white guy. It would have made far more attention. But yeah, the officers were deemed by the police to have overstepped their boundaries and they got fired. So this defense kind of sucks when people can look and see that they're saying ex-officer. But whatever, what do I know?
Officers some certainty as to how they should behave in any given situation. When we were in Chattanooga, I think I gave you some examples of that. The physical presence, you're driving on the interstate and you see a police car parked up ahead, diagonal to where you are driving, and you figure, well, that must be, there must be monitoring traffic, and you slow down. So that is basically a command that you slow down. And just the presence of the police allows that to happen. The verbal warnings, if you're driving down that same highway and you see a sign that says no tolerance, well, that could be a verbal warning, if you will. And then verbal commands, driving down the same road and traffic is blocked, officers are directing traffic and you go to where you are commanded to go. Chemical agents don't enter into this illustration. They are very much part of this response to resistance continuum because they're the next step. And of course, chemical agents are things like OC spray or pepper spray or whatever you call it, that can be used to disable someone who is not compliant, to allow them to be handcuffed and searched. If that doesn't work, the next step is empty hands control, and it has both soft and hard. Empty hands control, soft would be where you are leading a suspect somewhere, and the hard would be where you're actually using a fence front foot. And those things are specifically set out in the rules that the police follow. Impact weapons, that could either be the taser, or it could be the AST baton that Officer Mills was talking about. And then finally you get to the force that no one wants to see. But sometimes is a part of policing, and that is deadly force. And understand that when they are taught these concepts, they are not taught that you follow these in lockstep. You follow these as the circumstances require. So you could go, and you'll see in a minute an example. You could go all the way to deadly force to begin with, and then back off of it once you see that, once you get a better idea of what the situation is. We'll see that happen. But that's what he's taught when he was in the academy, and that's what he carried into the field with him, and that's what sets the level of professionalism. Sometimes in the jury instructions, you'll see the term standard of care. Well, this would be what they're referring to as the standard of care when you have to deal with that in the jury instructions. So Mr. Haley chose to go into the rather dangerous, or relatively dangerous area of the Scorpion team. The Scorpion team had a specific purpose, and that was to use data to figure out what precincts you're seeing most crime in, and then flooding that zone for a period of time, and getting crime under management there. And then if the crime changes location, the Scorpion team changes location. But every day, they are going into the most crime-infested areas of Memphis, and they are dealing with some of the most dangerous criminals on our streets. And they're doing it professionally. They have a code. People that they're dealing with, their code is the code of the streets. And it's up to the officers to follow their code in dealing with people who are not compliant. Enter Tyree Nichols. Now, Tyree Nichols would not necessarily be one of the people that would fit the description of the type of person that the Scorpion team was looking for. The Scorpion team was looking for stolen cars. They were looking for people with warrants for their arrests. They were looking for large amounts of drugs, and they were looking for dangerous weapons, i.e. guns. And on January 7th of 2023, Tyree Nichols didn't fit that profile. He wasn't driving a stolen car. He wasn't, he didn't have any guns in the car with him, and he had no warrants for his arrest. So he would not be somebody that the Scorpion team would be interested in. In fact, that's sort of the really tragic part of this entire case, because practically speaking, had Mr. Nichols pulled over when he got the blue lights and submitted to the officer's questioning, in all likelihood, they wouldn't have arrested him. They could have seen a small amount of drugs in the car. They're not concerned about that. They're looking for the big fish, not the little fish. They could see some credit cards in there. They wouldn't even give that a thought. Members of the Scorpion. And the encounter would have ended. He would have left, and you wouldn't have to be here for chatting. But Mr. Nichols had a choice. He had a choice to do what law-abiding citizens do, and that is to pull over and talk to the police, or speed up. And tragically, he chose to speed up. Now, the Scorpion team didn't know Tyree Nichols. They never heard of him. He's never come across their radar as far as anybody can tell. The car he was driving apparently wasn't a car that had been used in other crimes that the officers may have recognized. So what was it that brought them together, the Scorpion team and Tyree Nichols? Well, one of the things the Scorpion team is good at is following clues. And whether Mr. Nichols meant to or not, he was giving off clues that brought up the antenna of the Scorpion team. First of all, when the blue light started flashing, he didn't pull over. In fact, not only did he not pull over, he sped up. And you can see on Officer Nichols' speedometer how fast Officer Nichols had to go to try to catch up with him. He sped up, and he did something that the Scorpion team was really bewildered, because people run from the police in Memphis all the time because they know there's a no chase policy, and the police have come to accept that. And they say, well, have them got away. I can't chase. There's too many people in danger. So the police, that's not foreign to them. Having somebody run away from them and never catch them. But what is foreign to them is having someone run away from them and then stop at a red light. That's weird. That's suspicious to them. And then when they saw the car at the red light, they had tinted windows. They couldn't see in it. So their antennae were up. And I want to take a look for a moment. To the stop. And as I have gotten older, when people come to me and they're upset about something, and I found the best way to deal with that is just, whoa, just slow down. Just slow down. Let's talk about it, we'll figure it out. And so that's what I want to do here. I want to slow this down a bit and take a look at what happened. This is Officer Hemphill's body-worn camera. And we'll take it up to where Officer Hemphill got out of the car.
I am not looking at this body cam footage no more.
And at this point, you can see Mr. Nichols' car is on the right, and Officer Haley's car is on the left. That Officer Martin's car is up ahead of Mr. Nichols' car, and Officer Martin is standing at the passenger side of Mr. Nichols' vehicle. As Mr. Hemphill walks closer, you see Mr. Hemphill pull out his service weapon. Now, service weapon would be deadly force. And you'll see in a moment that not only did Officer Hemphill have the service weapon out, but as you look at Mr. Haley, he has his service weapon in his hand, and he's putting it in the holster. That's because he's looked in the car and he's seen what's in there, so it's no longer a mystery. So now it falls from a deadly force incident to something much less than that. Probably a soft hands incident, which we'll see. And he holsters that at 20-24-51. Then we see Officer Haley reaching in to pull Mr. Nichols out of the car. And just as he starts coming out, we see him go back in again, indicating perhaps, now I don't know for a fact, and it's you for the jury to figure it out, that perhaps Mr. Nichols was already starting to struggle at that point, or he wouldn't have had to go back into the car. But he pulls him out, and as Officer Hemphill testified, he put Mr. Nichols in the A-frame. Now remember what the A-frame is. The A-frame is the hinge of the driver's side of the car, and it's a good place.
Update on the Diddy trial. They have 35 potential jurors. The goal is to have 45 potential jurors and to pick 12 from that 45. They got 35. The judge believes that they should have all 45 narrowed down by the end of today to be able to choose from. They moving along pretty quickly.
To put a suspect when you're trying to handcuff them because they can't go anywhere. And you can see at 20-24-56 the back of Mr. Haley and then the face of Mr. Nichols.
Okay, let me read this one too. Several potential jurors expressed doubts about the justice system, some citing media coverage, especially CNN and YouTube, others pointing to Combs' wealth as a reason they couldn't be impartial. Most were dismissed for cause.
And you can't really tell on Mr. Nichols whether he's turning his head to look at Mr. Haley or whether he's facing Mr. Haley, but we do remember Officer Hemphill's testimony that as he got up closer, he could see Mr. Nichols turn, I think he spun around and faced Mr. Haley. Well, at that point, Officer Haley is unable to get him cuffed if he's facing Officer Haley. And so Officer Hemphill comes to help Officer Haley. And then there's some grappling that goes on, and it's hard to tell from the camera exactly what's going on, but you can see where they remove Mr. Nichols from the car, and Mr. Nichols is standing there, Officer Hemphill holding with one hand, another officer on the other side holding him, and Mr. Nichols is not in a position with his arms behind his back. As we go forward, he moves over and turns toward the officers. And at that point, we don't know for sure at what point Officer Hemphill heard Officer Martin say, "Get your hand off my gun," but it would have to have been around in this area somewhere. Because shortly after we're looking at this, we see Mr. Nichols is taken to the ground. And at 20:25:20, we see that he's clearly sitting on the ground. He has his left leg extended out in what we have referred to previously as the bladed position. Officer Hemphill's hand is on his shoulder, and Officer Haley and Martin are standing in front of him. All three officers are telling him, get on your stomach, get on your stomach. 20:25:21, that Mr. Nichols is debating with them about that. You may recall Mr. Nichols saying, okay, but he was doing that with his voice, but he wasn't doing okay with his body. He was not complying with their demands. And here he is still in the bladed position, arguing with them about it at 20:25:21. At this point, they push him to the ground, Officer Hemphill does, and holding on to Mr. Nichols' left hand would be Officer Martin, and Officer Haley is on the other side of Officer Martin. Officer Haley then approaches Mr. Nichols at 20:25:26 and eventually grabs Mr. Nichols' right hand to try to get his right hand behind his back. However, and you can see him get the right hand at 20:25:30. However, it's impossible to get the right hand behind the back when he's leaning on the right arm. And we see Officer Martin try to force Mr. Nichols' left arm at 20:25:32 behind his back. But that does little good until Officer Haley is able to do the same thing with the right arm. And Mr. Nichols is continuing to resist that as well. At this point, 20:25:36, we see Officer Haley goes to his knees. He's dealing still with Mr. Nichols' right hand, and Officer Haley eventually decides that unless Mr. Nichols is compelled in some other way to comply, he is not going to comply. And at 20:25:46, we see Officer Haley pull out the OC spray and spray it. Now, what we know now is that when that happened, the spray hit Officer Haley, and apparently it hit him directly because of the level of disabling it did to him. And we see at 20:25:47 that Officer Hemphill now has the taser out, and he's threatening to taser Mr. Nichols. And so we know at this point in the video, Officer Haley can't see anything because he just got it in the eye with his OC spray at 20:25:48. And then there is a scuffle where Officer Hemphill's camera is obscured from seeing exactly what's going on. But you remember Officer Hemphill testifying that when Mr. Nichols got up, that he ran toward the police car, which was open. That was the police car he was running toward was Mr. Haley's car, and the door was open. However, Mr. Nichols did not get into that car, and at 20:25:57, Mr. Nichols is running on his way to Ross Road, evading the officers. At this point, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask Mr. Snigel to take over the controls, and through the magic of technology, we are going
The hell is he doing?
Technology, Mr. Stigl is going to help us be in two places at one time. So go ahead and start playing that at 20:25:57.
While we listening to this, I got the Diddy stuff up that we getting from the Diddy trial about the jurors being dismissed and whatnot.
Blue jeans, and a hoodie. So I found a loss on the last song. What's up? Hang on. Ready? Straight. One of the prompts next is alright, fellas, look quick. Alright, hang on. Where's your water? Okay, I got you. One, good. Ready? Negative 29, 38. Holiday advice. I can't see jack shit. My last sleep. I can. Maybe we can solve right there, boss. Yeah.
How did it daily verified with 667 followers?
Ladies and gentlemen, at 20:29:54, Tyree Nichols was caught on video on Ross Ridge, hiding from the police.
Okay, I gotta find my glasses and get this damn taser. Now,
Good morning. Are you still ornery? Because you were really ornery last night. Hopefully you having a better morning. Cause I know you wasn't still with the family when I called because it was kind of late. And I know mamas and them go to bed early. So unless you had a sleepover and made s'mores and shit, you wasn't still at mama house. And so I'm a bit perplexed as to why I got the button pushed on me a couple times and the other phone cut off. That's all I want to know this morning. Truth.
Good morning, Chad.
Hollywood Truth. I'm calling you Hollywood Terry. See that? Did y'all see Hollywood Terry just ignored all my damn questions and said good morning, Chad? I ain't even get a fuck you, Trey. I just Terry. That's what I have to deal with now. This is what I don't know what to do.
How y'all doing this morning, Chad?
I'm still. Why did you push the button on me? I think like you pushed the button on me at least 3 times, if I'm not mistaken. I have to go back and watch the replay to count because I was appalled. You could hear it in my voice. It shook, it trembled. I was hurt. I was finna use the bat signal.
A normal person, when somebody pushed the button on them the first time, they catch a cue. But see, you're not normal. You're not normal.
I'm not. No content. That the phone, the me harassing you phone calls be the content. It be the best content. I told him myself, let me harass Truth right quick. Let me harass her.
I'm
Use the
glad you
exact
admitted that,
words.
sir.
But I didn't really harass you though. I didn't ask you what you was doing. Nothing. I ain't even get to what you was doing because you pushed the goddamn button on me and changed the whole scope of the damn conversation.
I'm glad you admitted that you was harassing me, sir. So when I go fill this paperwork out, that's gonna be so easy. It's gonna be because you admitted that you were harassing me. You admitted that shit.
I ain't admitted nothing. That wasn't me.
Yeah,
I was
you
hacked.
did.
I was hacked. Wasn't me.
Okay, I was hacked. Carry on with the show, sir.
Go ahead. Cause I would.
Cause you getting on my nerves. Just carry on. Carry on. Carry on.
These people in these body cam videos. I don't know what the fuck we supposed to be looking for or watching. Normally I have the speed sped up, but since the jury is actually deliberating and they may come back at any time, I'm trying to stall and buy some time. But I honestly don't think they got it yesterday. And they probably spent like 4 or 5 hours deliberating, didn't come back with nothing. They sent them home. I think this is maybe tomorrow, Saturday at the earliest.
gentlemen, at 20:32:22, Officer Bean has now spotted Mr. Nichols and has begun chasing.
You good right now? Can you go shake hands?
At 20:32:41, Officer Bean was able to catch Mr. Nichols in act. At 20:33:12, Officer Mills pepper sprays Tyree Nichols.
Martin and all them are over there chasing. Shit, he's pretty me too, but luckily you get behind us from a eyebrow. Oh, the stump was ass.
At 20:33:53, Officer Smith radios for more cars and more officers at Castlegate. Officer 20:33:55, Officer Martin removes his body-worn camera.
So now the stump was ass. Smith was on one of the cars and the Martin chasing.
At 20:34:14, Officer Martin delivers his first kick to the head of Tyree Nichols. At 20:34:27, Officer Martin delivers his second kick to the head of Tyree Nichols. As you can see, at 20:34:41, Officer Haley leaves Ross and Raines and is on his way to Castlegate. At 20:34:49, Officer Smith radios that the suspect, Mr. Nichols, is still fighting. At 20:34:54 at Castlegate, Officer Mills opens his ask for time. At 20:45:01, Officer Mills delivers the first strike with his ask baton. 1 second later, at 20:35:02, Officer Mills delivers his second strike with the ask baton. 3 seconds after that, at Castlegate, Officer Mills delivers his third strike with the ask baton. At 20:35:14, Officer Martin delivers.
This is a terrible closing argument.
To the head of Tyree Nichols.
This is the defense attorney? This is terrible, sir.
3 seconds later, at 20:35:17, Officer Martin delivers the second fist strike to the head of Tyree Nichols. At 20:35:24, Officer Martin delivers his third strike to the head of Tyree Nichols. 3 seconds later, at 20:35:27, Officer Martin delivers his fourth strike to the head of Tyree Nichols. 2 seconds after that, Officer Martin delivers his fifth strike to the head of Tyree Nichols. At 20:35:32, Officer Haley radios and asks where they are located. Officer Mills gets on and responds that where they are on Cassidy.
Okay, so the jury deliberated for 4 hours and 24 minutes yesterday before they called it quits. God damn, Memphis. That's why I don't watch the news. Scrolling down here because I'm going back and forth between the news and stuff to see if they come back on with a verdict or not. But I see 22 hours ago, we posted 5 people shot, 2 killed after shooting at Memphis sports bar. It's just always something going the fuck on. Always. It's crazy. I want to say a couple weekends ago, we had like 35 people shot and 22 died in a week. It's just, they cutting up and it's getting hot, so it's really finna rise.
6:15, Officer Haley arrives at Cassidy. At 20:36:45, Officer Haley gets on the radio and requests medical care for Tyree Nichols. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk for a little bit about what happened once Officer Haley gets on the scene at Cassidy. Recall that what Officer Haley knows at that point is the following. He knows that there was a traffic stop at Ross and Raines. He knows that at the traffic stop, Tyree Nichols resisted. He knows that Tyree Nichols would not cooperate by putting his hands behind his back. He knows that he had to apply OC spray to Tyree Nichols and himself in the process. He knows that he has very limited vision, and he unsuccessfully chases Tyree Nichols a bit of the way up Ross Road, even though he couldn't see. He knows that Nichols got away uncuffed and unsearched. He spent time trying to regain his vision by washing his eyes out with water. He drove to Castlegate. Once he arrived at Castlegate, he saw officers still struggling with Nichols. He saw Nichols' right hand was still uncuffed, and it was turtled under his chest. He saw that Nichols, he decided to kick Nichols' right bicep to release his right hand. He warns as he's running up using verbal judo, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that, where he yells, "Beat that man's ass." He delivers the kick, and then approximately 31 seconds later, Mr. Nichols is injured. The yelling of "beat that man's ass" has to be put in proper context. If you go back to the first video, where it was a traffic stop video at Ross and Raines, I wrote down 3 things that you could hear Officer Haley telling Mr. Nichols at that location as they were trying to get him handcuffed. He says, "I'm going to break your shit." He says, "Get your ass blowed off." And he says, "About to knock your ass out." He says all those things on the scene at Ross and Raines as they were struggling to get Mr. Haley handcuffed. When he gets to Castlegate, he picks up that same motif with "beat that man's ass." Now, what the state would have you believe is that, or what you believe, is that none of those first 3 things were said. Because then they could completely take "beat that man's ass" out of context for a better story. That's not what happened. What happened was all the things that he said, they were all examples of verbal commands. They were all profane. They were all harsh. And they were all intended to do the same thing. And that is to be verbal commands under that step of the use of force continuum. Now, the state was critical of the testimony of Don Cameron about how Officer Haley delivered the kick at Castlegate. And I just want to take a look at it on the video and see if we can make any sense of what Mr. Cameron was saying. So at 20:36:15, we can see from the right hand of the screen, Officer Haley coming onto the scene. From there, Officer Haley would have a clear view of the officers still trying to get Tyree Nichols handcuffed, something that Officer Haley had started trying to do approximately 12 minutes before that. He sees that he's still uncuffed, and he sees what the situation is with Tyree Nichols' right bicep. He continues to the body, he stops, he looks, and he kicks. I'll go back there and show that again. He braces himself against one of the other fellow officers. He takes a look at the target, and then he kicks. A very specific place on the target. This is what Mr. Cameron was trying to say. It was what separated him from just being brutal and beating Tyree Nichols. Now, if you want to see an example of brutal and beating Tyree Nichols, just keep watching. Because after the kick, you see Officer Martin behind, and when he comes, he doesn't aim, he doesn't do anything, he just viciously kicks Tyree Nichols. There's very
Again, if this is the defense, he's doing a terrible job. Unless he's separating his clan from what the other nigga did. This is crazy.
In a bit, you're going to be going back to the jury deliberation room, and you're going to have the judge's instructions on each of these offenses that Officer Haley is charged with. The context for all of these offenses, according to the state, is that Officer Haley here is being held responsible for the acts of others. And in order to do that, this is what the instruction says: the defendant is criminally responsible for an offense committed by the conduct of another if acting with the intent to promote or assist the commission of the offense or to the benefit of the proceeds or results of the offense, the defendant solicits, directs, aids, or attempts to aid another person to commit the offense. So there has to be some involvement of Officer Haley in the decision-making process about where this enterprise is going. Now, you recall when we were in Chattanooga, you heard an illustration of this having to do with throwing rocks. And if you remember that illustration, think about that when you're looking at this, because by my memory of that illustration, every person who was held responsible for throwing a rock knew why they were throwing the rock. And I believe this case is very different from that, because this case is messy. This case is real life. This case is a case that started with officers doing a legal investigation, having probable cause to stop the motorist, having probable cause to put him in handcuffs and search him, and then everything falling apart from there when Mr. Nichols was not going on. None of these people had any conversations about killing Mr. Nichols. Now, that's not necessary. The state would sort of remind you of that, because understanding to be conveyed in different ways. But there is no indication that Officer Haley was out there at that time doing anything more than police work. Police work being trying to get a suspect handcuffed and searched. With regard to the criminal responsibility of others, it depends on Officer Haley's intent. Intent means that a person acts intentionally with respect to the nature of the conduct or to a result of the conduct when it is the person's conscious objective or desire to engage in the conduct that caused the result. Now, Officer Haley was involved in the conduct of trying to handcuff a suspect. There is no evidence that Officer Haley was involved in the conduct that would ultimately, through criminal intent, lead to the death of Tyree Nichols. Another thing that you're going to see in the instructions is that you should give separate consideration to each defendant. You're going to have 3 separate jury verdict forms, one for each of the officers. And these officers are all judged separately. They were all doing different things out there at that time. Some things may apply to one that doesn't apply to the other. You're not to group them all together. You are to, as you're assessing the case, look at each officer separately. Second-degree murder. The defendant unlawfully killed the alleged victim. They're saying that Officer Haley unlawfully killed Tyree Nichols and acted knowingly. Let's take a look at knowingly. Knowingly means that the person acts with an awareness of his conduct is reasonably certain to cause the death of the alleged victim. Reasonably certain. The only thing Officer Haley was reasonably certain about was that one way or another he was going to get Mr. Nichols handcuffed within the bounds of the response to resistance continuum. That was his safety. That was his safe number. As long as he remained in those bounds, he was safe. The requirement of knowingly is also established. It is shown that Officer Haley acted intentionally, which means the person acts intentionally when the person's conscious, subjective desire to cause the death of the alleged victim. There is absolutely no evidence that his intent was to cause the death of Tyree Nichols. He made one contact with Tyree Nichols, two contacts. The first contact was soft hands, trying to get him out of the car in the ambulance. Second contact, three contacts. Actually, the second contact was chemical agent, because Tyree Nichols was not cooperating. He needed to disable him so that he could get him handcuffed and start pouring water in his face. And then the third one was hard hands, and that was the foot to the shoulder. That was the only thing that you could conclude that was the intent of Officer Haley. Voluntary manslaughter. Officer Haley unlawfully killed the alleged victim, Tyree Nichols, and that Officer Haley acted intentionally or knowingly. Now we're back there to intentionally and knowingly. We don't need to go over that again because we've already talked about it. It means he had a conscious desire to act in a way that would result in the death of Tyree Nichols. Aggravated assault resulting in death. That Officer Haley intentionally or knowingly caused bodily injury to Tyree Nichols, and the act resulted in the death of another. Dr. Turner told you that the sole cause of the death of Tyree Nichols was blunt force trauma to the head. There was no point at which Officer Haley delivered any blunt force trauma to the head of Tyree Nichols. He did kick Tyree Nichols in the shoulder, and Officer Turner testified that no burden whatsoever on his death. Reckless homicide, that the defendant killed the alleged victim, Tyree Nichols, and the defendant acted recklessly. Well, now here's where we go back to our response to resistance. Reckless behavior cannot be reckless if it is within the scope of the objective bounds that the Memphis Police Department sets out for its officers. Recklessly means the person acts recklessly with respect to circumstances surrounding the conduct or the result of the conduct when the person is aware but consciously disregards a substantial and unjustifiable risk that the alleged victim would be killed. Had Officer Haley gone outside the bounds of the response to resistance continuum, then he would be considered to be acting recklessly. However, he did not. At no point did he go outside the bounds. He stayed safely in, and it says the risk must be of such a nature and degree that its disregard constitutes a gross deviation from the standard of care that an ordinary person would exercise in all circumstances to the accused person as Officer Haley seen. There's the standard.
I don't know who lawyer it is, but he sucks following black dude. The first dude, defense attorney who came from out of town, John Jr., or the third or whatever acronym he had behind, suffix he had behind his damn name. He cut up. This nigga here boring. He monotone, the mic barely picking him up. I'm not moved by him. I don't know. His client might be in trouble.
That's your response to resistance continuum. If you can find some way that he escaped from that and he went beyond police, that you're not going to find. Criminally negligent homicide. That is the defendant's conduct resulting in the death of the alleged victim, Tyree Nichols. The defendant acted with criminal negligence. Sorry. That the defendant furnished substantial assistance to the person in the commission of criminally negligent homicide, and that the defendant furnished such assistance knowingly. Officer Haley was not there when the blows were thrown. There was no way that he could provide any substantial assistance. When he came on the scene, he did not know about those blows. He didn't know about Martin's kicks to the head. He didn't know about Martin's strikes, kicks to the, or strikes to the head, or kicks to the head, strikes, kicks to the head, or strikes to the head by Officer Martin. So you cannot find him guilty of criminally negligent homicide. He was not there. Facilitation of criminally negligent homicide. And this is the only time I'm going to talk about facilitation, because you're going to find facilitation on everything. So I don't need to repeat myself by going through each one. But the defendant furnished substantial assistance to that person the commission of criminally negligent homicide. And he must be providing substantial assistance to be responsible for that act by somebody else. If there was no substantial assistance, he wasn't there. Aggravated assault, acting in concert. In order to convict on that, you're going to have to find as an element of defense that resulted, what Officer Haley did resulted in serious bodily injury to Tyree Nichols. Serious bodily injury in those is described for you. Involves a substantial risk of death, kicking in the shoulder, no. Protracted unconsciousness, kicking in the shoulder, no. Extreme visible pain, kicking in the shoulder, no. Protracted or obvious disfigurement, kicking in the shoulder, no. Or protracted loss or substantial impairment of the function of a bodily member, organ, or mental fact, kicking in the shoulder, no. Aggravated assault, acting in concert, you should be checked. Reckless endangerment. Officer Haley engaged in conduct which placed or might have placed another person in imminent danger of serious bodily injury, and that he acted recklessly. Here we are back to the response to resistance continuum. As long as he stayed within that, he did not act recklessly, and that's an objective finding. He did not act recklessly. It doesn't have to be just somebody's opinion. Assault. That the injury Haley caused bodily injury to Tyree Nichols, and that he acted either intentionally, knowingly, or recklessly. We've already covered intentionally, we've already covered knowingly, and we've already covered recklessly. It does not apply. Officer Haley's kick to the shoulder. Aggravated kidnapping. This was a police action based upon probable cause to arrest Tyree Nichols. It involved handcuffing him and searching him. Once that was done, it was over with. Now, every time an officer handcuffs and searches, is that going to be a kidnapping? I don't think the state meant that. And I don't think you have to buy it, or you're going to be tying our officers' hands for time to come. Official misconduct. This is the one that I'm really scratching my head over because I'm not sure that anything has really been put before us saying this is the official misconduct. Yesterday, I believe it said it was everything that happened from the time that Tyree Nichols ran away from Ross and Reynolds. But a lot happened. Help me. I don't know what to defend on that. And if you don't know what to defend, you don't know what to convict. Reject. Official misconduct, unauthorized exercise of official power. It's not unauthorized if it's set out in the response to resistance continuum and he stays within that framework. Reject. Official misconduct, refraining from performing a duty. I think what they're talking about there is telling the medical providers exactly what happened to Tyree Nichols, and at that time he did. Mr. Officer Haley did not know what had happened because he wasn't there. He didn't see Martin delivering the strikes. He didn't see Mills delivering the strikes. So you have no way of being able to be accused of not performing something.
My bad, y'all. My finger hit the short.
Not performing something that he was physically impossible for him to perform. Refraining from performing a duty, it sounds like the same thing to me. And finally, official oppression. The defense of a public servant acting in the office of employment, course, and the position is subjected to mistreatment.
This guy sucks. I would ask for a refund.
That the defendant knew was unlawful. He's acting within his parameters. He can't know it was unlawful. It wasn't unlawful, and he shouldn't be convicted of it. Let's go back to the deliberations. I am not guilty of all these charges because nothing applies to the facts of this case.
You know, the jury, let's don't have any interruptions. Is there anyone that needs a break? Want to take a brief recess?
What's the recess?
Quick recess. All right, let's see here. Let me do some scanning. And let me check to see if while I'm scanning, let me see if they didn't walk their ass back in the courtroom. Shout out to the playoffs. They've been nice. It's been a whole bunch of exciting basketball being played without my Grizzlies. Nope, still haven't come back yet. And let me skip this shit forward. Let's see where we at. Truth, did you hear you ain't heard my announcement last night? Apparently, the B-Love well, shit, that was poetic. Apparently, the B-Love has the ability to stop you from getting your video monetized. That's what I look like, because when I did the Goodwill and Q and B-Love Jack, I probably played 3 minutes of her. However long she talked about it, I played it. Well, yesterday on my live and the video I cut out of you going off, I had got a copyright thing, and it was saying your video can't be monetized. The owner isn't striking you, not blocking you. You just can't make no money off of it. So if you use her name and she don't like you, she got the ability to be like, you ain't getting paid for it. I just cut her out, so she wasn't gonna stop me. What she said wasn't that important for me to not cut it out, but I realized this call. I suggested that maybe she should just instead of keeping them from making money, she should have them share the revenue with her like the record labels do. If you got the ability to stop it from being monetized, you have the ability to revenue share and just get some money off of it like them if they getting some money. But yeah, found out something new yesterday. Truth ain't heard none of that. She ain't said or nothing. How long was this damn vacation? This recess that they went on? They let one nigga talk and said, we out of there. All right, hold on. I got to slide. No, 2 hour mark, still not bad. Okay, here we go.
Thank jurors for their time and service, but I hope everybody realizes how much we all appreciate the fact that you put all down here 5.5 hours driving down here, and it's been over a week here listening to this. And that's really all I can say of the rules about how much I appreciate it. So let's start with my closing argument. That is Justin Smith on the proudest day of his life. It's brand new, freshly minted copy. And that's who I represent, Justin Smith. Okay. Now I'm not going to film and technology you're going to see from me today. All right. My closing argument is more going to be of what I noticed throughout the trial. And you may or may not consider what I noticed to be important. And if it's not important, just ignore it. But it could be that you noticed and made note of some of the same things. And since it seems like we've been here for an eternity, I'm going to go through them. Again, use what you want, and move on the things you don't want. All right, so I'm going to try to move quickly. If I get anywhere close to 9.5, I give you permission to throw a rock at me, okay? Kind of like the rock stick bank rocket. Just throw a rock at me. All right, first, my notes. What happens in a city when mayors and police chiefs announce on the news that cops are not going to be permitted to chase shoplifters or burglars? Well, criminals run. They're not dumb. What happens when officers like Justin Smith get convicted of a felony because of what Tyree Nichols and Emmett Martin did? Let's be real clear. We're here because of choices, as mentioned, Tyree Nichols made and then Emmett Martin made. That's why we're here. I don't care what anybody else says. In my opinion, that's why we're here. So what happens when we convict officers like Justin Smith of felonies for chasing someone down and attempting to handcuff a suspect to assist one of his other police officers. If you're a cop, what do? Somebody like Justin Smith, who everybody knows the unit, he knows he's the most kind and gentle professional in that unit. He gets convicted of felony. What's going to happen? They're going to run. The cops are going to run. The cops are going to run to Chattanooga. The cops in Chattanooga, they're going to run down to South Mississippi. They're going to run. And maybe if they left the streets to the politicians and the preachers and the parents to police the streets, maybe the city of Memphis might learn. Your Hamilton County Sheriff has on his website, I don't know if you know this or not. Your Hamilton County Sheriff, who I met, says on his website, we chase cars. It was an official website. You think criminals know that? You think the burglars know that? Shoplifters, carjackers, you think they know that? Your sheriff is going to chase cars. Just down the road, less than 10 miles from you, the Suffolk County Sheriff, Thomas Tuttle. On his website, it says, we chase criminals, we chase cars. Don't bring your crime. It says, don't bring your crimes from Memphis down here. It's just literally 3 miles south of Memphis International Airport, Suffolk County, Mississippi. We chase cars, we chase criminals. You think they're down there shoplifting? You think they're down there breaking into 94 cars in one night? Here's some more notes I have. That night of this arrest, who was angry? Who was angry? Well, we know Nichols was angry. He said so from the stand. He said he was angry. We know Emmett Martin was angry. You couldn't be anything but angry and unhinged if you're Emmett Martin doing what he did. Was being angry? Nope. Remember now, when I answer a question, I'm not going to ask you a question. The DA's office asked you a couple questions with him. I said, God forbid to actually answer some of those questions. When I asked the question, it's rhetorical. Was being angry? Nope. You didn't hear a peep from him. I said, come on, bro, give me your hands. Was Justin Smith angry? Listen to the audio. Justin Smith is that squeaky voice you hear. He was panicked. He had enough years on the job arresting felons, 90% of whom are armed. He had enough sense to be scared and screaming on the radio to send more cars. Was he angry? Nope. But Mills and Martin were angry. Who took breaks from OC spray? Pepper spray. We keep calling it OC spray like people like snow. Pepper spray. You saw how potent it was. And Miss Henry said, in one breath, she says, oh, we heard how Mills and Martin were deeply affected by the OC spray. Remember saying that? But Smith and Big didn't have that luxury. So Miss Henry tried to make it sound like he didn't get on him. Did y'all notice in training that when they give him that one shot in the eye, there's nobody standing behind that cop that gets it in the eye? It's called backsplash or overspray. Miss Henry told you that Martin was standing next to Mills. Go back and watch the video. No, he wasn't. He was standing next to Bean. He was standing across from Mills when he shot that spray. And Martin is not a little guy. He bailed out. Whoo! Whoo! Can't catch my breath. Mills took a 1 minute and a half break because some of the back spray got on him. At that first traffic scene, Haley's the one who sprays. Okay? Hemphill is across from him with his taser on the leg, and Hemphill gets it. It's like room spray. You're not going to be able to surgically do it, okay? And it is super powerful. For over 8 minutes, go back there and time. Haley couldn't catch his breath. He couldn't see. He was prying his eyes open to get water in it. Hemphill, on this level, was reading out the times of what was going on over Cascade. Hemphill was still coughing up a lung. How could he coughing on the... He only got a little shot. Big and Smith didn't have that luxury. They let go of that man on the ground with a handcuff on him. Somebody's going to get shot. It might be Nichols, if he gets up that handcuff and starts swinging it. Or a cop's going to get hurt. Miss Headley actually had the temerity to look you people in the eye and say that Bean and Smith were holding the victim Nichols down on the ground. Remember saying that? Don't answer. Mills stated from the witness stand that Bean and Smith were holding him down to be holding him down, to get punched, kicked, or whatever. Mills said that those two guys kept their hands on Nichols to keep him on the ground to get him handcuffed. What else could they do? Did Smith and me get a break? Haley and Hemphill got an over an 8 minute break. Mills took a minute and a half break. Those two guys never got a break. Mills testified that days after this happened, Justin called him on the phone. He testified to it. Mills did. Mills did. That's the state's witness. That's the state's witness that they called to prosecute these men. Mills said that Justin called him up and said, man, I just heard it. There were kids. And I'm going to call the lieutenant about it. He was mad. He used dirty words when he said it was that dumb. Justin didn't know about kids. And they would have you believe, how could they not? Baines' body cam was right there on the ground. He caught every one of the kids. Again, their witness Mills testified that he didn't see any of the kids. And by the way, Mills is the one video with nothing in his hands, no hands on the suspect, staring at Martin and staring at Nichols. And yet he said, I didn't see the kids. Justin and Dean, and I don't mean to drag Mr. Perry's client into it over and over again, but let's face it, Justin and Dean are bent over at 90 degrees, face full of spray, and blind, and deaf, and suffocating, trying to get this unknown suspect, who they got called out on, had already fought off 3 cops. They had no idea he has a weapon. Mills didn't see him. And Miss Kelly said, there were 7 times that they could have stopped these kids. By these things, stop. Justin Smith had his hands full. And Justin Smith has a history. You heard it from the witnesses, the character witnesses, that he is incapable, it is not in his nature to allow another officer to abuse the suspect. He's just not going to do it. The judge has instructed you on the law that when it comes to character witnesses, if someone is of good character, it strengthens the presumption of innocence, which is the strongest presumption in American law. Because good people, and what Mr. Hyman says, Chattanooga, he did ad nauseum here, good people do bad things. We're not here about good people doing bad things. We're looking at people being charged with felonies. Good people do good things. And Justice Smith didn't do anything to do that night. He was doing the best he could to help Terry Smith get handcuffs on and get Nichols in custody. Miss Headley, I have to take my hat off to her. Miss Headley had me, you know, just as she shall not have any sympathy, talking about sesame chicken. Sesame chicken. Roland Wells, like sesame chicken, and how he run his belly saying, Justice Smith did not do anything to Tyree Nichols. Tyree Nichols made choices. You heard about him. Speeding, running from the police, blue lights, fighting at this first scene. Did you hear what he said? He looked at these cops and said, get your ass out of the car. He said, y'all are really doing a lot tonight. Stop. Don't do that. I'm just going home. But they're saying, get your ass on your belly. Right? Tyree Nichols made these choices. Speaking about sesame chicken, so Tyree Nichols somehow get 750 pounds of men off of him and running to the next street over and hiding on a Toyota 4Runner. Like this face, like this spray off. Then he happens to be seen by Mills and Beatty. These guys have guts that I don't have. Okay? I flew Army helicopters for a long, long time. I've never had a shot made at me in anger. Okay? These guys, over 2 and 3 year periods, are making over 1,000 felony arrests themselves. 80 to 90% of them have head weapons on them. Frankly, when Emmett Martin announced he's got a hold of my gun, he's got my gun, in other circumstances, I'm surprised somebody didn't get shot and killed right then. That's a deadly force situation, you heard from the experts. Instead, they're trying to talk him in and get his arm behind his back. Dude, get your arm behind your back while break your shit. Foul language. This is not some guy worried about going home eating sesame chicken. The investigation. Let's talk about this investigation. Whew. Chuck Baker comes, President fellow from TBI, and I asked him, whose decision was it to return Kelly Rogers' pink American Express card? Not return, did I say return? They didn't return it. It wasn't Tyree Nichols' American Express card to begin with. Whose idea was it for you to give the American Express card and all these other cards to Tyree Nichols' mother? He goes, well, took his instructions from the DA's office. That man right back there. He took his instructions from the DA's office. Mr. MoneyBoy, let me offer you a suggestion. You don't like it? If you don't believe it, throw it out. If they call Kelly Rogers up and say, we have your American Express card, would you like to come down and get it? Don't most owners of the credit card say, where'd you find it? Well, we found it in Tyree Nichols' car. There was a better than even chance that Kelly Rogers will tell the media My credit card was found in Tyree Nichols' car when it was making worldwide news. There goes the narrative right down the mud, right? You just bit and wait on Sesame Chicken. Instead, they gave Kelly Rogers' American Express card to Rovon Wells. Is she going to go to the media and say, oh, by the way, they found this American Express card in my son's car? No, she's not. That story ends. Don't tell me this wasn't correct. Don't tell me this investigation was not focusing on those cops. They take DNA swabs from their mouth, they take their shoes, their boots, cut them up for DNA, and they don't go down to St. Francis Hospital with a search warrant for Tyree Nichols' blood. See if he's on anything, if he's got 5 narcotics officers and he's high as a kite. And they don't go down and get a search warrant. Don't tell me this investigation was not clean. Somebody told me that y'all were going to be jealous if I referred to my iPhone because y'all haven't had an iPhone for me. So bear with me. Now, this is not going to throw a rock at me, okay? I'm going to read you a headline. Headline is a public record. A newspaper is considered public record under the law. Okay, I'm just going to read you the headline. Memphis has broken homicide record. New numbers show. November 20th of 2023. 11 months after this. Right? Keep up. That's November 20th of 2023. CNN headline. CNN. Memphis mayor meets with gang leaders to request ceasefire in effort to curb city's gun violence. March 3rd of 2024. Mayors are meeting with gang leaders to stop gun violence.
Yeah, maybe it's great.
What the hell did these motherfuckers call an objection during his closing statements? That's peculiar. The camera blacked out. Yeah, they called an objection, which is rarely heard of during a closing argument. Yep, they're going back to their seats. Damn. The fuck did he say?
All right, you people live in Chattanooga, these headlines I read talk about our crime rates. That's probably not a single surprise to any people in Memphis County for crime rates in Memphis. Especially in light of the evidence that 80 to 90% of the people that they try to arrest all have deadly weapons. These crimes, where we're breaking records for violent crime, all predate Scorpion. And since these guys are where they are, crime has continued to go nuts. It's a matter of public record. It's a matter of your own knowledge in your own head when you come to Shelby County. Okay? So what do? What do the leaders do? They form a Scorpion team. They take statistics, which I thought this case was about. They take statistics and they move them to dangerous areas of Memphis. And they leave them there for a week with the sole purpose of removing criminals with, felony arrest warrants, stolen cars, drugs. Get them off the street. They do it for a week or two, and then they got to move on to the next precinct because they get the crime down in that precinct for a little while, and there's another precinct going nuts. So they have to go over there for a week or two. Remember, my opening argument that these cops serve in the most dangerous unit in the most dangerous city in the United States. That goes to their mindset when they pull a car over, it keeps going. That's in their mindset when they tell Nichols, get out of the effing car. They don't use language we're going to use in church. And Nichols pulls back against him, and they pull him out of the car. That's what's on their mind. Let go of my gun. That's what's on their mind. Justin Smith watching Tavares Dean go down a dark street. Don't believe me, believe Mills.
I just got to point out, they said, let go of my gun, and neither the officer that yelled, let go of my gun, or his partner fired any shots. They did not, and that's normally a shootable offense.
He didn't even know what street they were on. A dark street. They're chasing an unknown fleeing suspect. Dean's by himself, has it. Justin, with blown out knee, gets out of his car to go and help Dean handcuff. At that point, why did Tyree Nichols just say, all right, boom, you got me. I'm done. Remember, Keith Perry said, the real gangbangers, the real thugs know that their hands behind their back, right? It's going to go quickly. It'll be over. These were not a bunch of bullies, monsters. Mr. Adams said they're not monsters. Well, of course they're not monsters. They're doing a job that none of us in here have the guts to do, to try to keep the rest of us safe. All Tyree Nichols had to do was, all right, man, you got me. He might have spent a little time in jail for some of the stuff they might have found. But he wouldn't be dead. Those headlines I told you about, the things you know about in your own mind about Memphis, do you think Justin Smith knew those things when he decided to go to work on January 7th with a blown-out knee instead of staying at home and nursing his knee? This guy with a college degree, with one of the most outstanding reputations at NPD and OCU, he knew what the risks were when he went into work. And he faced it. I don't have those guts. About the only thing Justin is guilty of is being naive. He probably thought he was making a difference. He literally was risking his life, in reality, every night. To arrest people, sell dope, carjack cars, steal guns, credit cards, treating these people with respect. That's what they said about Justin. He's dealing with the worst people in Memphis. And Loach Chatty, who was his lieutenant, and actually made arrests with me, big pepper spray in their face. Me Mack, who was the old school guy, he says that Justin's new school, that is, he treated the suspect with respect. So is he going to change his spots that night and treat Tyree any different? No. This is Emmett Martin and Tyree Nichols is doing this. John Keith Perry said he was going to beg you at one point. It's closed argument. I thought to myself, don't feel like a Lone Ranger. I'm going to beg as well. I'm going to beg 12 people that end up on this jury to stop the misery Justin Smith has been going through, being charged with second-degree murder, aggravated assault, kidnapping, official misconduct, and official oppression. End it. Go to the jury verdict form. I'm going to read you the pages, make it hopefully better for you. And check the box, not guilty. And let Justin try to get some semblance of order. He'll never get caught again. There's nothing to do with that. If you're involved in the Tyree Nichols warehouse, you're not ever going to get caught again. Convicting Justin Smith being them. By the way, a lot of times these people, these governments, they charge people with all these charges, right? And some of them sound pretty harmless, like official misconduct. That sounds like the clerk at the license plate place taking $5 out the till. It's a felony. Official misconduct is a felony. Official oppression is a felony. Do not convict Justin Smith of any of these charges. Next thing about that. When I represent a client who, let's face it, probably did do something they shouldn't do, I love lesser included offenses. Because I figure, well, the jury might cut me some slack. Instead of convicting them way up here, they'll convict them way down here. Okay? The state is the one wanting you to. They're hoping that you'll get back there and you'll negotiate, compromise, say, well, you know, I'm not guilty of murder, but let's tag you with this. That's their idea. I just soon try Justin Smith on murder. But I'm forced to defend him on all those lesser charges, which is just a game, in my opinion. It's just a game.
Your Honor, this whole, if Your Honor, who gave some type of instruction to the jury that the lesser included are the law and the state is missing, that's why Your Honor's included those in the jury instructions. That's not something that the state did.
I'm not allowed to close an argument. Thank you. Lesser included offenses many times will have a jury do what's called a negotiated or compromise verdict. I'm asking you not to do that. I just don't know how much clearer I can make it. I'm asking you not to do that. Now, let me go to the DA's closing argument. And I'm only going to do some of the high points. I'm not going to do all of the Haley's closing argument. Okay, just some high points that I noted. She said that Tyree Nichols, after looking forward to Sesame Chicken, said when he got out of his car, I'm just trying to go home. If he'd have done what the officers told him to do, he could have gone home that time, or at least some night quickly in the future. But he didn't. Instead, Ms. Haley makes it about the officers. Should the officers said, oh, well, you're about to go home? Go ahead, go home. Is that what we want? She took issue with my phrase, tail whip. It was when I was asking Mills about you getting your tail whip. These guys face felons every night, and they keep this kind of control. And by the way, this is the second scene. The first scene, he's already whipped their tails and got away from them. So that was my phrase. She just had to issue with. These officers clearly were in over their heads with this one suspect, Tyree Nichols. Mills said he was angry when he used his baton. He was being honest and candid. Then he went on to say, yeah, while I was angry, if Tyree had just given us his hands, I would not have. Even though he was angry, Mills said that if he had just given us his hands, I would have never struck him. You can't believe Mills 1 minute and disbelieve him the next minute. That's their witness. I'm not going to spend too much more time on the DA's office continually saying that Dean and Smith were holding Tyree Nichols down, and they even played it to you in slow motion. That's not what Mills said. Mills said they weren't holding him down for beatings. Holding down is not giving evidence. That's their witness. Ms. Headley stated, I should have objected. Ms. Headley stated they had to have felt or heard the kids. Remember her saying that to you? She's telling you that they had to have felt and heard the kids. I didn't object. I wrote this note down. Their witness, Mills, says he didn't see the kids. Their witness, Mills, says he heard the thud, and when he saw the second punch, he turned away and walked away because he didn't want to see it. Smith and Dean didn't have that luxury. First of all, they didn't see it, and second of all, they could not let go of this suspect. This is crazy to evaluate this case on slow motion video of a 70-degree court road. First out there on a dark street. This is crazy to evaluate them criminally this way. I'm just going to take my time. I don't mean to keep it under. Miss Haley said, Mills and Martin reacted to OC immediately. Well, what are we going to do? Punish Dean and Smith for just sucking it up and fighting through it? So Miss Haley saying anything? They couldn't have felt the taste of the smell of the OC spray. Because Mills and Martin reacted to it immediately. Ms. Headley said this to you in closing argument, and I did not stand up and object. It said, cops had no idea about the cards and the dope in the car, and the mushrooms only weighed as much as $2 bills. Cops could have known about it. But you know who didn't know about it? Tyree Nichols knew about it. It's okay for Ms. Headley to tell you the cops didn't know. It's okay for me to tell you what Mr. Tyree Nichols knew. He knew what was in that car. He wasn't scared of those cops. I think he got scared of them. He wanted to get away from that car. If he gets away from that car, there's hope. Stay out of jail. Ms. Headley said that Tyree Nichols ran because he was scared of the police. She said, I don't know how she knows that. She went on to say that we picked on Robert Long too much. That's a young EMT, stood there like I'm standing, while Justice Smith is saying, man, his oxygen's low. His O2 is low. Where's your bag? You heard Justin. There was only one person trying to care for Tyree Nichols out there. It's Justin. That's not to the detriment of the other officers. I'm just saying. She said, we picked on Robert Long. And she said, if they hadn't done what they did to Tyree Nichols, Robert Long wouldn't even be out there. Remember she said that to you? And I wrote, if Nichols had not done what he was doing, Robert Long wouldn't be out there either. If he would just get out of the car, say, why are y'all messing with me here? If you don't have how to tell, we're a good lawyer for mistreatment or whatever. Instead, he wants to say, y'all are really doing a lot tonight. Stop. Don't do that. I'm going home. The whole time he's got 3 really big men with big items to hurt you, saying, lay on your belly. He didn't do it. Now, we're getting to my closing argument, and it's only 3 pages long. Hopefully, I've covered a good bit of it. Justice Smith's reputation was that of compassion, protection of others. I've talked to you about character evidence, strengthening the presumption of innocence. I won't cover it anymore. By the way, Mills actually ended up being one of Justice's character witnesses. Mills said that Justice was calm and shared the same values as him. Or it's not going to take advantage or harm a suspect. Can't believe that and not believe something else. Mills went on to say he didn't see kids, didn't see him any punches. He stated that he heard no words during the traffic, during the house day thing. He said the first time he heard the words was when he watched the play or the video. Remember that? That confirms what Zwicky said. That when you're in a critical incident, you're scared. In a critical incident, your field of view goes to 2 degrees. You reduce that more with no glasses. You reduce it more with OC spray. You're scared to death hanging on to a handcuff. You don't hear. That's called auditory exclusion. Justin was in the fight of his life. and sitting here in 70-degree weather, looking at a video saying, well, that doesn't look too bad. It's impossible for us to get in the shoes of those officers that night. I was a horrible baseball player. Dealing with patients has to be hard. Dealing with wait staff, people has to be hard. Dealing with second graders must be hard. How hard for these cops? We're going to convict them of felonies? I told you many about the table pages. In that big long jury instruction, each of the 3 defendants, they go through the 7 charges of the lesser included offenses. I would tell you that Justin's charges, where you mark guilty or not guilty, is at page 72, page 75, page 78, page 81, page 84, page 87, and page 90. Page 72 is second degree murder and the lesser included offenses. Please mark not guilty. Page 75 is aggravated assault. Again, please mark not guilty in the lower left-hand corner. Page 78 is aggravated kidnapping. Same. Page 81, kidnapping with a deadly weapon. Same. 84 is official misconduct. Page 87 is official misconduct refraining from duty. That has to be about providing medical care. That's, I mean, when you read the charge and you've heard all the evidence, that's the only thing that could possibly relate to Mr. Leffler. Paul said he has struggles with that as well. And page 90 is official aggression. I want you to pay close attention to the following words, if you will, please. Knowingly, and the definition for knowingly, which remember includes reasonably certain. Knowingly, reasonable certainty, intentionally, unlawfully. These words have meanings within those jury instructions. They're very important. They're very, for lack of a better word, they're very intentional. They're very purposeful. I don't think you're going to find Justice Smith have a purposeful bone in his body to hurt Tyree Nichols or to allow anyone else to hurt Tyree Nichols. There's no way sitting in this courtroom looking at grain video in pieces of moving body-worn cameras that Justin is guilty of a crime beyond reasonable doubt to a moral certainty. Justin's character and his nature for these different witnesses. I ask you just to answer this in your own head. Would Justin hurt a suspect? Would Justin lose his temper? Would Justin allow someone else to hurt a suspect? Will he encourage or assist someone else to hurt a suspect? Listen to the audio tape. You'll hear Justin Smith on the radio at least 4 times. Squealing, squeaking, begging for more cars, more help. Send more cars. He's still fighting. Send more cars. Justin Smith does this every night of the week. Justin Smith was probably for the first time in 3 years in OCU scared about what was about to happen. But you call other cops and other witnesses to come over and witness you breaking the law? If Justin's going to break the law and hurt Tyree Nichols or allow someone else to hurt Tyree Nichols, would he call for more witnesses to come over? Well, of course not. That's common sense. Common sense, to me, is reasonable doubt. We've gone through all Nichols' choices. We'll go through them again. We'll go through my witnesses real quick. Curtis Tate. Curtis Tate is the first witness I called. He's the one who said that if somebody's mother or sister is on the side of the road with a flat tire, Justin would be one of the guys to stop. Help fix the flat tire for a stranger. That's Curtis Tate. Jared Zwicky, who's my expert. I don't think he took issue with his expertise, candor, and fairness. Okay? Jared said everything Justin did was lawful that time. And then he went on to talk about how dangerous the situation was. And then he went and talked about physiological struggles that cops have with critical instinct. Brian Nemack. Nemack was the old school guy that Mr. Haggard cross-examined and said, y'all all sit around and tell horse stories. Some of it's pretty violent. It's old school, right? Nemack was honestly, yeah, I've been doing it a long time, yeah. Mr. Haggard, you and I have had those kind of conversations. And I asked him, I said, was Justin Smith one of those guys? No, it's not. That's what he said. But he went on to say, he was one of the best I had. And he said, Nemack said about Justin, he treats the suspects, the arrestees, with respect. Nemack said that. The old school guy, he probably could have pardoned some of this kind of stuff back in the day. That's what he said about Justin Smith. Nemack is only recently retired. He's come here, so did Tate, working with the NPD, talking about Justin Smith. That's pressure. That's guts. Mark Wojcicki, that's the top, OCU top, physically fit looking dude, turned preacher. You heard what he had to say about him. He would not back off with hiring Mr. Hagerman saying good people do bad things. Good people are capable of bad things. The preacher in him says, yeah, we're all capable of bad things. But then he said, but it's not in Justice nature. And that guy has been in arrest scenes, fights with Justice Smith beside him. And that's what O'Checky said about him. Garrett O'Brien came in, he's kind of stud too. He comes in, he had a house on search warrant. Some stolen cars, drug stuff, they all do in the dark at night. And he said that even though it wasn't his case, he called Justin, and Justin paid attention to what O'Brien's case was about, took it seriously, and went to get the house with O'Brien. And then O'Brien was about to take $5,000. O'Brien thought was supposed to be grabbed by the warrant. Justin reads the warrant to son. That money back. It's not including your warrant. Pointing his case. Hip-Hill called him kind and gentle. And I said, did Justin try to keep you away from the wrong kind of people? Hip-Hill said yes. Desmond Mills, there. He made fun of about how blind he was. Because Justin took his glasses off, he's blind in the back. This is not a dark street, those he sprayed a fight for a handcuff. Mills, their witness, said that Justin's blind in the back without his glasses. You heard on the audio video of a fight. They didn't know they were fighting. They had no idea about Sussex chicken. They had no idea what was even called. Granted, just trying to get this guy in handcuffs. I didn't think that about it. I'm with you next week. Go check the box, not guilty. On those 7 pages of case, please. Return Justice Smith to his wife and kid. That means I'm not trying to start a blood over. Convicting him of a felony is not going to bring Tyree Nichols back. That is enforced. Any creation of God leads to his time as a tragedy. Tyree Nichols is gone. Convicting him of a felony will not bring Tyree Nichols back. If Martin is in prison, I don't know any of us will live long enough to ever see Emmett Martin die. Emmett Martin's in prison for what he did. Nichols, he's already pled guilty. Do not forget Justice Smith and his colleagues. Please. Thank you for hearing me.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we, of course, someone mentioned, within the law, anytime a person is charged with an offense, that particular offense has already built into it lesser included offenses or lesser crimes. When a person is charged with an offense, rather than list off every single offense that is included in the offense, they just are charged with the highest, and then everything within that charge is considered a lesser included offense. The court is the one that has elected which offenses are going to go before the jury for their consideration. This is not something that the attorneys in and of themselves make a decision. Ultimately, the court is going to be the decision maker, and what the law that is presented for your consideration is going to be turned over to you. So I just want to make sure any statements referencing one side or the other as being the person that's requiring this to go before you all, or you all understand that I am going to be the one that provides the law to you, as I instructed at the very beginning and will continue to instruct to you. The law comes from the court. And so any instructions that you all have come from the court. Before we begin with the last portion, as we talked about at the very beginning, because the state has the burden in this case, now that the defense has finished their closing arguments, the state will have an opportunity to present a rebuttal argument. Is there anyone that needs a break so we don't have any interruptions during that rebuttal argument? All right, proceed.
Two soccer ball kicks to the head. 3 baton strikes. 5 haymakers. And 2 more kicks. That's not about making an arrest. That's not about getting someone in handcuffs. That's not. That was about Tyree Nichols making these officers run. These officers pepper spraying themselves. Because at Ross and Castlegate, Tyree Nichols was not resisting. He was trying to survive. You all are able to see that in the video. We're talking about the choices of Tyree Nichols. We're talking about the choices of Emmett Martin. Well, all three of those men over there made choices and could have made choices that night. Should have made choices that night. They could have chose to stop it. They could have made a choice to stop it. In fact, they had a duty intervened. They had a duty to stop it. And not one of them did. So the defense attorneys, during the course of this trial, for the last 2 days, they said a lot. They said a whole lot. They thrown a lot of smoke and mirrors, but smoke and mirrors do not equal reasonable doubt. And I told my boss, one of my big bosses, I wasn't going to talk about that smoke and mirrors. I was going to focus on something different. But some of the smoke does need to be cleared, and some of the mirrors do need to be broken. And like Mr. Zuma, I'm not going to talk about all the smoke and mirrors because it was a lot. But I am going to hit the highlights, okay? So first, before we can get into anything, we got to talk about the idea of a tainted investigation. We've heard that for days. They said TBI and the district attorney's office and the FBI, the Department of Justice, everybody was colluding and working against these men. They would have you believe, because TBI got involved, and my big boss somehow was driving Hickory Hill, January 7, 2023, saw these officers doing what they were doing and saying, hey, this is going to be a great news story. That's not what happened. In fact, look at the policy, Memphis Police Department's policy. You'll have it with you. In cases where individuals are in custody and are critical or dead at the hands of law enforcement, TBI has to get involved. But that can only come at the request of the district attorney. So who knows about what happened to Tyree Nichols back on January 7, 2023? TBI doesn't. My boss not out riding. Ms. Wells has collapsed on her son in the hospital. She's not calling my boss to make the call. Who knows? Who else is a part of this conspiracy? MPD. Is it reasonable to also believe that MPD made the call to my boss? Hey, we got somebody critical at the hospital doing an arrest. TBI comes and clears out that hospital thing. Because that's what Ms. Wells said happened. For those officers who rolled in the ambulance with Tyree Nichols, who were still at the hospital at the time he was there, cleared out. And then a tainted investigation, but when TBI gets involved, give them what they want to believe is their best piece of evidence. These mushrooms and these credit cards. It somehow justifies Tyree Nichols being beat to death. Mushrooms that were found in the trunk of his car. Mushrooms that you heard Dr. Ross say weren't even in his system. What did he have in his system? Alcohol. Well below the legal limit. I think it was 0.4 grams. I don't know, 0.04. With a tainted investigation. Smoking mirrors. Let's talk about what this is not. Because we told you back in Chattanooga, this is not about a group of men who met on Memphis Street and said we're going to go out and kill somebody tonight. This is not even about those men meeting up at Ross and Reigns or Ross and Castleberry saying, hey, we're going to agree to do something to Tyree Nichols. If there were a case, it would be a first-degree murder case. Nobody's saying it. It would also be a conspiracy case. Nobody's saying it. But what it is a second-degree murder case, and it's a criminal responsibility case. And we're going to talk about what that means. And then, the gun. Tyree Nichols, grabbed Mark's gun, put his hand on his gun, you heard from Mills, later said it might have been my gun belt. All of it requires us to take the word of Emmett Martin. But we know, we see on the video, 1 minute it's a traffic stop, 1 minute Tyree Nichols got out into a swing, got in 1 minute. That's whose word we're supposed to take. You rewind the video of the traffic stop at. You tell me if you hear about a gun. But beyond that, if there was a gun, and if they believe that he grabbed the gun, which would justify and increase this situation, as the expert said, if that was the case, who was at Ross and Reigns when that happened? We got Hempfield, we got Martin, and we got Haley. So guess what? Nobody got on that radio and put out, hey, yeah, pepper spray deployed. Yeah, Taylor deployed. Yeah, he's running this way or that way. Nobody got on that radio and said, hey, he went for an officer gun too. I mean, wouldn't that be information that you want your fellow officers to know? If they're pursuing somebody who you believe is so dangerous, who you believe just overpowered, what was it, 700 want somebody to know it was true. Smoke and mirrors. This notion, and I want to be clear with this is not an indictment against our police officers. This is not an indictment against police officers who get out, who do their jobs, who put their lives on the line. Nobody is saying it's not a dangerous job. Nobody is saying that it doesn't take bravery. No one is saying it. But because it's a dangerous job, does not mean that you are immune from making criminal decisions. So yes, we can talk about the language police officers use, the actions police officers use. Me and Mr. Hackman agree to disagree about the verbal judo. They snatching about the car. We're gonna blow your ass off. When they have him on the ground, I'm about to break your shit. We can agree to disagree. Okay, tough job, rough language, cool. Nobody's being charged with it. They have him on the ground. He's hurt now. Guns drawn. You got to get your ass blowed off. He's hurt. We got to break your shit. He's hurt. Pepper spray him. He's hurt. He, being Tyree Nichols, that's hurt. Take him. Well, what's next? What's next? Wait on the quarter. Going back out. He takes out the ring. Tyree Nichols, he shouldn't have ran. Okay, but he did. He ran. And at Ralston Castlegate, he's tackled to the ground by Tyree Nichols. Nobody is saying Tyree Nichols should not attack Tyree Nichols. He's not being charged with it. None of these officers are being charged with it. But as Tyree Nichols is on that ground, and Emmett Martin delivers that first kick to Tyree Nichols' head, it's a flag on the play. Whoa, 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 wait a minute. That kick to the head, look at police policy, Memphis police policy. It's considered deadly force. So when you apply this deadly force to this man who's on the ground, he now becomes a victim. He now becomes a victim. But nobody intervenes. There's more kicks, there's more kicks, there's more punches, there's more punches, there's more kicks. That's why we're here. That's why we're here. I believe it was Mr. Perry who talked about split-second decisions. A split-second decision will be somebody running through a red light, making a decision, should I get it, should I not, should I get it, should I not, trying to get it and have a car accident. That wasn't this case. Tyree Nichols was beaten for 2 minutes. From first kick to last kick. For 2 minutes. And in between that time, each one of these officers sitting in this courtroom could have done something. Each one of these officers could have said something. This was not a split-second decision. Smoke and mirrors. And maybe the best smoke and mirror of it all is this whole notion that these officers were just trying to handcuff Tyree Nichols. Tyree Nichols could just put his hand behind his back, say, you got me, you got me. But when they first approached Tyree Nichols, what did he say? All right, threw his hands up. So how do we even get on the ground? But even when we're on the ground, you know that character witness who came and said and testified on behalf of Mr. Smith, who talked about the dangerous arrest he made with Mr. Smith, who talked about the person who had been pepper sprayed. He was on one side, another officer was on another side, and guess what Smith did? He grabbed his feet, and they were able to get him handcuffed. Guess what they could have done with Tyree Nichols was on that ground? They could have grabbed his feet and been able to get him handcuffed. But nobody said grab his feet. Nobody said, hey, it's 4 of us out here. You get one arm, I get one arm. Somebody stand on his feet. Until the very end. Until the actual patrol man came in and grabbed his feet. That's how he got handcuffed. It wasn't because Haley and Martin kicked him again. It was because somebody out there had the sense to say that. And Justice Smith knew how to because he had done it before. This wasn't about trying to get handcuffed. And we know that because we know witnesses have testified. The defense counsel have gotten up here and said repeatedly. When the handcuffs go on, the fighting stops. When the handcuffs go on, can't do anything, can't get them. Well, isn't it reasonable to believe that these officers weren't trying to get those handcuffs on because they wanted to punish him for running, because they wanted to punish him because they pepper sprayed themselves? Tyree Nichols didn't grab a pepper spray can. They're upset, they're angry. They don't want those handcuffs on. It's an illusion for the body cameras that are still on, the ones that people haven't took and snatched off. the ones that haven't fallen out during the scuffle, they're asking for his hands, but they have his hands. They're asking for his hands as two officers have his hands and he's being punched. This is not about trying to handcuff Tyree. But that's what they want you to believe is, my guy was holding him to their knee, and Justice Smith just holding him, trying to give him handcuffs. They didn't have any intent to hold him so he can get punched in the head. Well, guess what that still sounds like in simple terms? That's still minimal facilitation of second-degree murder. That's not what this is. It's not just facilitation of second-degree murder, not just him holding his hands for him to get handcuffed. This is second-degree murder. And so how do we get to that? Because all week, up until now, all week what it's come down to is that those men to see what Emmett Martin was doing, to hear what Emmett Martin was doing, if they were criminally responsible for Emmett Martin's actions. And all week, everybody has been trying to stay away from what Emmett Martin did, right? I think Mr. Leffler got up today, and he read from you page 47 of your jury instructions that said, considering multiple defendants, you should give separate consideration to each defendant. Absolutely. Absolutely you should. But that goes along with criminal responsibility. You reconcile that with criminal responsibility because on page 58, where we're talking about criminal responsibility, it says the defendant is criminally responsible if a party to second-degree murder, aggravated assault, aggravated kidnapping, aggravated misconduct, and official oppression. If the offenses were committed by the defendant's own conduct, by Tyree Bean's conduct, by Demetrius Hayes' conduct, by Justice Smith's conduct, or by the conduct of another for which the defendant is criminally responsible or both. So we don't get to just throw away Emmett Martin. We don't get to just throw away Emmett Martin. Yes, we evaluate them separately. That means evaluate if Tyree Bean was criminally responsible for Emmett Martin and everybody else out there. That means evaluate if Demetrius Hayes was criminally responsible for everybody else out there. It's all out with Justice Smith. And if they were criminally responsible for each other, then they can be found guilty of second-degree murder. So the question is, and the question has been all along, did they see what happened and not intervene? One way we need criminal responsibility, not intervening. Did they assist in what was happening? Another way we need criminal responsibility. And I submit to you that they were doing both. So the good thing about going third, the good thing about the boys' spirit prosecutor telling the majority of the case is that I've been able to sit and listen and try to find an answer to that question that matters. The answer to that mystery question, did they see it, did they hear it, did they know what was happening and not intervene? I've been able to sit and listen to the audio. I've been able to sit and watch the video. And so I want to talk to you, because it's going to talk to you a lot about their acts, what they were doing that showed they could see what was happening, where their eyes were, how they were responding after the fact. Mind you, Tyree Bean, Justice Smith, they didn't go dump water on their face. They weren't coughing like Kemp Hill. But that's just the things that they were doing. What about the things they said? What about the things that they said? Let's take a look at it. And as we take a look at all the things they said, I want to remind you of this language in the criminal responsibility instructions. The encouragement of the principal offender is enough. Let's start with Demetrius Hayes. Mr. Leffler talked about how Demetrius Hayes feel back in Ross and Reigns, where majority of the kicks and majority of the punches were happening to Tyree Nichols. Sure he was. But the problem is, by the time he got to Ross and Castlegate, Emmett Martin had already kicked Tyree Nichols for the last time, and he was done kicking. Go back and watch the video. Emmett Martin was done with the cycle ball kicks. But because Demetrius Hayes runs in and says, beat that man's ass, what they want you to believe is the same type of verbal judo, or whatever it's called, that he was using on the first scene. He's not responsible for his kick, and he's not responsible for Emmett Martin's kick when he was done kicking. That reasonable? Is that reasonable? The problem, Mr. Leffler, is that on the first scene, when he was using that verbal judo, nobody blew Tyree Nichols' ass off. On that first scene, when he was using verbal judo, nobody broke Tyree Nichols' shit. But here, Ross and Castlegate, when he jumps out that car, when those men are already over Tyree Nichols, and says, beat that man's ass, he kicks him himself. He not just kicked him, he looks for the spot where he wants to kick him. And I know the defense wants you to believe he kicked him in the shoulder. You watch the video. You tell me if it was the shoulder or he kicked him higher up in his face than neck area. But it's not about how he's kicked alone. Because once he kicks him, guess who starts back kicking him? Emmett Martin. And we know Emmett Martin's been kicking him in the face and head all night. So Haley is responsible not just for his kick, but for that kick by Martin. And even if he wasn't kicking him, Haley wasn't kicking him in the head. Did you hear him tell Emmett Martin to stop? Did you hear him say, hey, don't do that? Did you hear Haley try to intervene in any type of way? You did. What about Tadarius Bean? Mr. Perry told you, and I would agree, the state agrees. Tadarius Bean is a man of few words. Doesn't say a lot. You will watch those videos, you will see a lot of other officers are saying a lot more. Tadarius Bean, all he says anything got their own thing. But the one thing that he does say, lets you know, he saw what was going on. He was aware of what was going on. Emmett Martin is talking about those haymakers he was giving Tyree Nichols. Talking about how he was rocking Tyree Nichols. And what does Tadarius Bean say? He was eating them hoes. Talking about the licks. Desmond Mills told us that. He was talking about the licks that Emmett Martin was throwing and that Tyree Nichols was eating or taking. Take this video. I'm gonna play it one more time. He was eating them hoes. Talking about the licks Emmett Martin was throwing and the licks that Tyree Nichols was taking. And even in that clip, you see him wide-eyed, just like he is in the courtroom. Not closing his eyes, not wiping his eyes, not nothing. They're showing that he's affected by the pepper spray that he says was blinding. Nothing. What about Justice Smith? Well, unlike Tadarius Bean, Justice Smith had a whole lot to say that night. He had a whole lot to say that showed he wasn't experiencing tunnel vision. He could hear, he could see what was happening. Mills' body on camera. Twice you're gonna see and you're gonna hear, more importantly, Justice Smith say hit him. The first time he says hit him, he's talking to Mills. He's telling Mills. Mills is taking it, baton out. Tyree Nichols, because you can hear it on the ground, is trying to get up off the ground. When Tyree Nichols does get off the ground, because they made a big point this week and last week about how Tyree Nichols was not responding to the spray. Tyree Nichols was not responding to the baton strike. You're going to see on that video, Tyree Nichols responded to the first baton strike. He was trying to get up and run. I've been kicked twice now. Hit with the baton. I'm trying to get up. As he gets up, Ben having one arm, Smith having one arm, Smith says, hit him again. And this time, You're gonna see Andy Martin hit him right out. He's talking to Andy Martin. And so if these hits by Emmett Martin are going on after Justice Smith said hit him the second time, what do we see? The direction that all these men are looking. Nobody's looking down. Nobody's looking up. You see Emmett Martin to the far right. You see Darius Bean with the hook, with the scully. You see Justin Smith with the shoes. Tyree Nichols looking forward, leaning forward from those hits. To Darius Bean, Justin Smith, all looking in the same direction. They were hearing those hits. They were seeing those hits. Same eyes. But they want you to believe that Tadarius Bean and Justin Smith were looking down the entire time. There's Tadarius Bean looking up Mills' body on camera. Not affected by pepper spray. Not blind. Seeing those licks. Hearing those licks. What else did Justin Smith say that night? I hit that man with so many pieces. Bean was rocking. I jumped in and started rocking. And after this is over, we're not done, but after this was over, those fist bumps, that encouragement that Miss Tammy said these guys were giving each other, you the real MVP. You press play and sit.
Hey, you good, bro?
You the real MVP. Now this one, we took turns giving him pieces. The words of Justin Smith. We took turns giving him pieces. But wait a minute. Why with Justin Smith, he's saying we took turns giving him pieces? It was only Emmett Martin who was punching Tyree Nichols. But that's because Justin Smith is going to take some paying attention to. Justin Smith was actually the first one who threw a punch at Tyree Nichols. Before Emmett Martin landed those haymakers, Justin Smith was the first one who threw a punch at Tyree Nichols. It wasn't a haymaker, but a baby haymaker, if you will. He was the first one. See with Tyree's hand? Watch that hand right there. And Mr. Berry had it on his diagram yesterday. I don't know if anybody caught it. When he was laying out the stripes and the forced use on Tyree Nichols, there was a little yellow line that represented Justin Smith, and he had a hand right there because Justin Smith was the first one who threw a punch at Tyree Nichols. And after that, you see all the big haymakers by Emmett Martin. But this last scene, it's going to take you to take that jury laptop. It's going to take you to plug those speakers up to that jury laptop. And it's going to take you to listen closely. Because this audio was captured on their body cam. And it was captured after Emmett Martin was going around telling everybody to take their body cameras off. Some of those body cameras on the cars, squad cars, Justin Smith's body cam in his police squad car. So you weren't supposed to hear this. But if you listen, Justin Smith says, I seen Martin, wop, 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 and I said, just follow. We're going to come back and talk about this when you all finish listening. And stay right there, please, Miss Haley. That squeaky voice that we heard. That squeaky voice that Neil said Justin Smith has. Says, Martin got up and said, wait a minute. Wop, wop, wop. As he's describing the hits by Emmett Martin. And then what did he say? I said, please follow. Who does he want to follow? Tyree Nichols, because he sees him being hit. He hears the wop, wop, wop. Then he goes on to say, it sounded like the licks. He can hear what's going on. But afterwards, there was something else that was said. It's critical to this case. And when you back there in the jury room with better acoustics and you hook that speaker up, you're going to hear Emmett Martin talk about those licks. I thought he was going to fall. But that man who took the witness stand for the state, as Mr. Martin likes to say, Desmond Mills, you're going to hear him say, I said, we got to kill this man. So why would Mills, who hasn't thrown a punch, who hasn't kicked the kick, why would he say, we got to kill this man? After all the deadly force used against Tyree Nichols, this police officer, who understands or should understand criminal responsibility, he doesn't say Emmett Martin is about to kill this man. He doesn't say Haley is about to kill this man. He doesn't say Justin Smith. We're all out here together. We're all in this together. We're about to kill this man. Say it one more time, he said. It doesn't take months to kill a man. It doesn't take months to kill a man. All it takes is 2 softball kicks to the head, 3 baton strikes, 5 haymakers to the head, 2 more kicks, and nobody's saying stop. Nobody's saying don't do it. Nobody's saying grab Emmett Martin. Because that's the question. If they seen it and it was successful, which every expert who took the stand said every one of those punches and every one of those kicks were excessive force. One said not justified. If they seen it, that's what it takes. Not one person saying stop. Not one person saying grab Emmett Martin. So when the smoke clears and when the mirrors break, those facts and that law that you have, it stands. It's still in place. When we were back in Chattanooga, I went last day, and I stood up, and I said, you all had one job to do when you got here to Memphis. You all had one job to do when you got to this dangerous city. You all had one job while you're here, and that's to follow the facts in the law. To follow the facts in the law. Those are the facts, you have the law. And if you follow the facts in the law, your mind can rest easy, beyond a reasonable doubt. Enough to let the mind rest easy. If you follow the facts in the law, your mind can rest easy. If there sits 3 men who are criminally responsible for the murder, the aggravated kidnapping, and the aggravated assault of Tyree Nichols, as well as official misconduct and official oppression, find them all guilty as charged of every charge.
Well, I'm guessing. I'm guessing that's it. Well, they muted it before they did that. So yeah, they went to deliberating. Let me check right quick before I end. Nope, there's nothing. When I get an update, I'll let y'all know. Till the next episode, we out.
See ya.
Never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Nigga talking reckless, shoot this bitch ass with the quickness. Now he bleeding, sorry, begging, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit. All my niggas wildin', they done labeled us some misfits. Wake up every morning, 2 or 3, 5 in the Fitbit. Oh shit, didn't nobody come to see you old, it's some focus. Shoot 100 shots, no reloaded. Master of the game, you would think I'm into coded. Memphis niggas spit this pippin', mackin' like I'm golden. Ho, with my money, you gon' turn me to the old me. Stay high, first class flight, I'm in the nosebleed. Copy, cooking, whipping, shipping, till you count the proceeds. OG, I've been moving back niggas since 03. Low key, niggas hating, but they don't want no beef. State gang, true sippers, bitch, I bet we don't eat. Get jammed, get a lawyer, make it bunny, don't speak. Pour up, oh, I need some more. A nigga had a long week. Shout out to my plug, he showed me love, he out in Long Beach. I'm too geek, walking by myself, but left with 2 freaks. Ooh, we nothing in they mouth and on they booty. Austin Power swag, yeah, baby, this is groovy. You can call me money boy, or you can call me nudie. Hood niggas, churches, chicken, let me get a 2-piece. Top down, 2-seater, let me feel the 2 breathe. Gotta hold it steady, chopper, kick it back like Bruce Lee. Lately I've been in the zone, I guess I'm in my 2-3. Don't call my phone for nothing less than a QP. Feeling like the Migos, cause my bitch is bad and bougie. All my haters love me, all these bitches is some groupies. Came a long way, I like to introduce the new me. Standing on business like I'm king or like I'm Drewski. Call me Run Island, cause I like my love for choosy. When we link it's a movie, she bustin' like a Uzi. I love the way she do me, I beat it up like Uzi. She dancing just like Suki. Call me Run Island, cause I love my love for choosy. When we link it's a movie, she bustin' like a Uzi. I love the way she do me, I beat it up like Uzi. She dancing just like Suki. I never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Nigga talking reckless, shoot his bitch ass with the quickness. Name pleading, sorry, begging, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit. Never been a hoe, I stay on go, so what the business? Nigga talking reckless, shoot his bitch ass with the quickness. Name pleading, sorry, begging, asking for forgiveness. Bow, 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 limp biscuit.